side will say red side?
Red.
He's calling red? Okay. Here's black. Okay, he's going to receive. You'll stay here. Start your 2-minute warm-up.
We're back here live in Morrisville, North Carolina at the beautiful Triangles Table Tennis Center, state-of-the-art facility here in Morrisville, North Carolina. My name is Gordon Kay. I am the CEO of USA Table Tennis. I will be joined shortly by Matt Hetherington, the digital and social media coordinator here at USA Table Tennis. This is the men's finals of day one. A lot on the line here. Nicolas Tio out of California and Adar Alguetti, who has had a long road to get here, Matt. A pair of 7-game matches. Back-to-back. First with Canuck Ja, and then coming back down 3-0 against Victor Liu to get here. Matt, a lot on the line. The winner here qualifies for Worlds.
Right, and I believe for Nick, this would be kind of his first exposure at having this close a shot at making the senior national team.
Yeah, he sort of, in a certain way, Matt, came out of nowhere. He had a huge U.S. Open, losing to Canuck, I believe, in 6 at the U.S. in the junior boys at the U.S. Open. Has had some international results recently. Adar, of course, as we talked about in his semifinal match, plays quite a bit internationally at the cadet and junior level. Also going to NYU, Stern School of Business, one of the top schools in the country. A member of the first family of table tennis. Steve Benko, tonight's umpire, about to get the match underway. We're 0-0. Again, this is the men's finals of day one. Nicolas Tio in red, Adar Alguetti in black. Again, Adar coming off of 2 long matches, very long matches. If you remember, Matt. Oh, beautiful forehand.
He's really found his wings today in this tournament. And I mean, after his first match with Canuck, where he was up 3-1, and Canuck came back to 7 before he managed to close it out, I thought, geez, there really couldn't be a closer or more intense match, and then to come out and play the next match and be down 3-0 and come back is pretty incredible stuff.
But if you remember, he was gassed after the last match, his on-court interview. I believe we had to break some chairs out.
We did.
And I think Brian is now joining us on the broadcast. Welcome to the broadcast, Brian Pace.
It is nice to be here.
Brian Pace, of course, the head coach, the new head coach here at Triangle Table Tennis Center. Coming back to North Carolina, Brian, how does it feel to be back?
It's cold. We got here and the next day it snowed, so welcome home. Family's happy.
So here we are, 3-3 in game 1 of the men's finals. It's so much fun, guys, watching the women followed by the men, followed by the women, because you see such contrasting styles of play. You know, in a certain respect, the men's game to me seems more of a speed and spin game, where the women's game seems more of a quickness and angles. You see much more of a ball trajectory in the men's game than you do in the women's game.
Well, the women are so much more skilled, and because of that, you see longer rallies. With the men, they're just more impatient and more willing to go for higher risk shots.
So it's interesting, Matt and Brian, there on that point, you saw Adar very effective in his match with Victor when he came back with just a short chop, not trying to overhit the return. Taking pace off the ball, changing Adar there on that point, changing both speed and spin, slowing the point down, speeding the point up.
You know, in our interview, he said the reason that what happened at 4-all in game 4, he backed off because he was tired. So what you saw him downshift in effort was because he realized he couldn't match him in power, but he just tried to be more consistent because he was tired. So I think what you're going to see in this match is that when it comes to big exchanges, he's not going to take the bait.
And yet, every once in a while, Brian, he'll come up with a shot like that. Or where we've seen him very effective, Brian, is the wide forehand power. He'll back off one shot, he'll wait, he'll get his player to attack wide to the forehand, and he'll come back with this crazy forehand wide loop that seems to be very effective.
Yeah, I think that's his MO now, is he doesn't want to let you know when it's happening.
I think the great thing about Adar's game is that there's so much diversity where if he gets given the opportunity to play that third ball attack, then he can win the point outright. But if somebody plays a little bit tighter and they don't give him a third ball, he still has a lot of tools that he can use to kind of figure out how to win.
So guys, we talked about this earlier in the women's side. The grueling nature of a tournament like this, making it, and on the men's side, again, you have to play all 4 rounds, right? There are no buys in the first round. But with 2 younger players, the resiliency of being able to bounce back from day one, maybe not feeling the pressure, or are they feeling the pressure?
I think they have less baggage because it doesn't hurt as much mentally and emotionally at that age. The older you get, the longer the bad losses stay with you, and sometimes you may be playing and you remember being in that same moment when you lost. But at that age, they're running at 95%, and they don't even know that it's supposed to hurt.
So Adar takes game 1 here in the men's finals of day 1, 11-7. If we know one thing, guys, that this match is nothing. Anything can happen. Again, we've seen Adar knock off the number 1 seed in 7. We saw Adar come back down 3-0 against Victor. We've seen Nicolas win a couple of really close matches, including his semifinal win over Xiao Yu. I want to ask you guys a question because both of you are coaches also, and we talked a little bit about the great thing about contrasting the men's and women's games, right? And we're seeing men and women, one and then the other, one and then the other. As coaches, how do you make those adjustments with your training and your preparation and preparing players for an event like this, knowing that the games are so different?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of variability in with the women's game, there's a lot of young female players and there's a lot of more experienced players. So you kind of have to prepare them for a lot of different scenarios. I mean, the younger female players are playing quite fast and counter-drivey and quite quick, whereas the older players are playing a little bit steadier, a little bit slower, and a little bit more tactical. So I don't know if you just kind of have to prepare them to be mentally on point and to be able to bring out their best game when they need it.
So here we go with game 2. Brian, we'll get back to this during the next break. Here we go with game 2. Adar serving at 0-0 with a 1-0 lead.
Where I think Adar is going to have an easier time is he just played a player with the almost same profile, right? Big power, willing to try to get to it first, and he had lost the first 2 games in the last match. He's coming into this match really, and it's game 8.
Yep.
You know.
So it's interesting. We'll see how quickly Adar makes that adjustment to that short push, as opposed to trying to looping. We saw him very effective when he came back in his match with Victor, where he went to the short push to get himself back in the match. There it is. It seems to me both Victor and Nicolas are both having a difficult time with that short pop-up ball. Victor, you saw hitting it off the table pretty consistently. Nicolas has now caught the net twice on that same ball.
I mean, a lot of the time they're kind of more prepared for a high-quality ball, and then when they get a ball that's kind of not quite what they're expecting, it throws their timing off a little. Yeah.
Right. This is not a ball that my coach ever feeds me.
Right, exactly. and you know, some of these, particularly I've noticed among the American players, this new generation of players are very focused on taking private lessons with coaches, and you know, when they're not training with each other, they don't get as much exposure to these kind of weird, slower, less orthodox balls.
Right. I think when you have a high-level coach, you don't see bad quality shots.
Right.
And then you get into the tournament and you play 2 great combination shots, and you're prepared for what your coach gives you back, only to see a low-quality ball that you said,
Exactly.
I never see this. And then you can almost see the look on their face like, that is actually brand new to me.
It's interesting, guys, you bring this up because of the 3 Alguetti brothers, they all play different styles, right? Gal more of a blocker, although I did watch him attack. Ooh, a great block there from the block. Gal a little bit maybe more of a blocker. You know, Sharon with great power. Adar sort of the middle of the road player. You wonder whether Nicolas is seeing that sort of diversity in his training, whereas Adar is going to see that every day.
I mean, I don't really know what Nicolas's training regime is like, but I can tell you now the Alguettis have a lot of exposure to a lot of different styles of players, and they've kind of developed weapons to kind of suit them to playing those different styles. I mean, you saw Adar come out and play Canal, who can be quite soft and touchy and blocky, and he played really well in that match. And then there's Kanak, who's, you know, a little bit more punchy on his backhand. He'll play a big shot if he needs to. He still managed to adapt. And then he played Victor, and he's playing this match, and they're bigger power players. And, you know, he still has maybe not the experience of like a lot of international play, but he's played such a different range of players that he just has a plan that he can apply to each of them.
It seems to me, guys, that Adar is much more effective when he's not attacking outright. He's setting up the attack by changing pace and changing spin.
What he's been doing is actually setting traps. The first couple of loops, he'll make a block. But then when he makes the counterattack, the player won't even respond because they would have already tactically put on paper he's going to block back.
It's interesting. That was the first point we've seen in this match, and even going back to Victor's match, where the pop-up push has not forced an error. And I think on that particular ball, it looked like the pop-up push was a little bit deeper and allowed Nicolas to settle into his comfort zone a little bit more rather than pulling him into the table.
It's a solid counter there.
Yeah. I think what you're seeing is he's able to slow down the fast players. He's not even making an attempt to play at their tempo.
Right.
He's just slowing it down, and you can see that.
Which is like, that's one point that really came through when he came back from 3-0 down against Victor, is that it changed, the dynamic changed so much from being down 3-0 and playing Victor's game to kind of forcing his game style more.
Well, I think Victor's realizing right now, I should have slowed down.
Well, it's
Hours
interesting.
later, he's realizing I played too fast and punchy when he shifted from 5th gear to 3rd gear.
So, guys, Nicolas bouncing back nicely here in game 2. I'm going to make an observation and say. 9-7. So it's interesting, guys. I come from hockey, right? That's my background. And the best players, they say, are able to play the game at their pace. They're able to slow. Doesn't mean they're not going fast, but they're able to slow the game down. And where Adar seems to be very effective is when he's able to control the pace. He's not getting into big, although, you know, look, his forehand to forehands, he's had some winners. But the big forehand to forehand rallies that we've seen, even with Victor, that he was losing those points, it's when he's able to control the pace is when he's more effective. Nicolas, by the way, with an opportunity to bounce back here. Game point here in game 2.
See, I think what you're seeing is whenever the ball is slow, he plays it faster. And when they play fast, he just plays the ball slow. So
that's when he's effective.
Even if he loses, he's saying the game is going at my tempo. So if you win the game, you won the game the way that I want to play, not the way that you want to play.
It's a common mistake in all sports, Brian, that to control the game, you have to power through the game. Controlling the game can come in so many different forms.
Yep,
it can be slowing it down. It can be a slight change in the spin. It can be so many different ways. It's so interesting, those 2 points.
Two half-long balls.
Yeah.
But the first one he pushed back, right? The second one, he decides
On
to
the ball,
counter.
right.
I mean, if I'm Nick right now, I'm sitting here sort of asking myself, not only on the serve, but on service return, I don't know what's coming. Adar going back to his backhand
Coming into
serve.
the match, you can see he's thinking, I can outplay him. But he's not really getting a chance to because he won't take the bait and play him shot for shot. He's playing him tempo to tempo.
That has to be hard, guys, for a player who trains a lot, because training is routine, right? Training is rhythm. You get somebody in a match like this, and when you see a lot of younger players, you'll typically see this, where they train a lot of forehand to forehand, forehand to forehand looping. Where you get somebody who's going to change things up, it can be very difficult to make that adjustment because you're not training in that routine. And I'm doing your jobs right now.
No, it's like the equivalent of getting knocked out, and then you wake up in the locker room and you ask your boxing coach what happened, so you got knocked out.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
Right, but what I'm saying is switching off.
Just
Not
joking with you, Brian.
understanding it, yeah.
I haven't been boxed much lately. Have you, Brent? That's a great point, Brian. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
Not a problem.
What a setup. I mean, it's a great setup.
You could just see he kind of started to step around preparing for a long ball, and then when he didn't get the ball he expected and got forced to come back in and push, he couldn't control it short. But Adar's getting that long ball again.
What was great about Adar's play right there is he didn't try and overhit the forehand. He just tried to put it on the table in the place where he wanted to put the ball.
He waited to the last possible moment so that he spun a slow ball and won a winner.
The number of times he's hit that forehand wide line in the last 5 or 6 points.
And this player, Nicolas, he's used to counterattacking. He hadn't got his racket on one counterattack.
Brian, you brought up an excellent point earlier. Nicolas and Victor, this is a continuation match
Same
for
exact
Adar.
style, carbon copy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Adar takes
Lucky
game 2
break.
on a net ball. Yes, it's a lucky break, but he is playing so strategically right now, really controlling the game. He's controlling Nick's ability to attack by moving him in, backing him off. That short forehand push has been very effective. You only saw Nick score off of that
Once.
when Adar missed it a little bit deep and allowed Nick to really step
he went
into
to
it.
the backhand. Every time he's done it, it's been short to the forehand, which means it kind of forces that person to have to play it cross court where he's already standing.
So what do we think, guys? 2-0. Been a lot of long matches today.
I think right now Adar has a fairly clear game plan of, you know, he started developing these ideas while he was playing Victor of really shutting down the forehand opening where Nicolas is so confident. Once you shut down that kind of confidence booster, you know, when your strength is playing forehand and you can't play forehand, it puts a lot of pressure on you psychologically to figure out, well, if I can't play forehand, how am I supposed to win?
It's so interesting to me just looking back through the day, and we've watched a lot of table tennis today. There was a moment in that Victor Liu match that was a game changer for Adar, and that was
Game 4, 4-0.
Game 4, 4-0 is exactly right.
Listen, what he's basically done is taken his match with Victor and just went, let me just polish that off. And he's walking into this game, and he already has the steering wheel.
Well, it's funny, Brian, because there it is. He's using that, again, there it was, saw it. But it's funny, Brian, you say that, because at 4-0 in Game 4 when he was up and there was the controversy, and Adar came back and started floating that short forehand that Victor had a lot of trouble with. I almost felt psychologically like Adar was saying, I'm tired, I'm going to back off and play for another day.
That's what he told me after the interview.
I'm gonna back off and maybe play for another day. It's the exact opposite of what happened. It's completely transformed his day for him.
Right, he's saying playing down gets you in a better tactical situation if the other person will full steam ahead.
And not try and overdo everything, right?
Right.
Not try and force everything.
And I think if you could really use one word to describe Adar's game, it would be reliable. It's just every shot he makes, you know, there's a purpose behind every
He
ball.
didn't waste one shot selection.
But I didn't feel that way in the first 3 games with Victor, and I'm not feeling that way right now. I'm feeling that way now, and I felt that way in the last 4 games without Victor. But in the first 3 games against Victor, I felt like he was forcing.
Yeah, I think he was trying to beat Victor to the punch, and then he realized, I can't do it. And the moment he slowed down, Victor just imploded.
There he's getting, that time, maybe a little side spin, right? So here we are. Adar is up 4-2 here in the 3rd game. Again, a reminder, this is the men's finals. This is for the whole kit and caboodle. The winner will go on to qualify for World Championships and the men's national team. The loser, unfortunately, has to start all over again tomorrow in the round of 16.
And a potentially different draw and a different road to making it back to here.
It's basically Control, Alt, Delete mentally.
Right.
Walking on day 2 like it's day 1.
Have to.
Gordon, you had asked a question earlier about training athletes, and in this situation, really what you're doing is you're telling them every match count, because when you train athletes to go into a tournament, their first couple of matches are walkthroughs. And then here, your first match is probably somebody as good or better than you. So you have to really train them that says all of these points matter. All of these matches matter.
This is a great point.
You can't take a match off.
I mean, you're looking at, I believe, here in Morrisville, I think 17 of the top 20. It's at 16 of the 17 of the top 25 men are here in the country. And I think of the 11 women that are here, 10 are in the top 25. And Tiffany Key, at 12 years old, who's a 20-something hundred player, is the 11th player. There are no free matches here.
You have packed the best players into a sardine can.
Right.
You know what else is very interesting? I'm going to make an observation, like you guys to comment on this. We saw in some other matches, in the Adar Canuck match, in the Kunal match, in a couple of Nicolas's matches, big forehand-to-forehand rallies, like ones that you want to clip. I would say, guys, in the last 7, 8 men's matches, we haven't seen one rally like that. And I think that, again, is what Adar is doing so effectively.
It's a credit to him. He's saying, I'm not going to allow you to play that way.
Yeah, I mean, it shows how his tactics have developed over the course of the day, and you know, he knows what his strengths are, and he knows where, you know, he might not be able to win. I mean, sometimes he might win a forehand-to-forehand counter loop rally, but when you're playing someone who has a huge forehand, the last thing you want to do is kind of feed them a ball.
Make no mistake about it. He has a really good forehand, but I think over time coming up, he started to understand when he was physically outmatched, and he found a way around that to make a player that is more physically talented than him make simple mistakes.
It is really tactical. These are not physical. These are not training. This is tactical. And by the way, guys, Adar takes a commanding 3-0 lead here in the men's finals.
And Adar is putting in big loops against players that's what they do to other people.
You don't want to say something like this because we've seen such wild swings in these matches, but it's almost as if he's now cruising. He is in such a comfortable mental zone right now that the body is just following the mind.
And
he's got to be so fatigued right now that his mind has to take over.
I think he should be buying Victor dinner tonight.
Victor, how about he buys us dinner, bro?
Thank you for allowing me to copy this match, because I just...
At the same time, though, I feel like coming out into this set, he's going to be applying as much tactical kind of game strategy, because he knows that he needs to win soon, but at the same time, he's not like some of the other players that might try and hit their way to victory. He knows how he's going to win.
Here's what's amazing for me sitting here watching this from somebody who doesn't have the experience that either of you two do. We saw it 4 games with Victor, right? Coming back down 3-0. We've now seen it 3 games with Nicolas. He is not letting his opponents make an adjustment. And at this level of play, these athletes are good enough to make those adjustments. He is doing something to keep them from making those adjustments in gameplay.
The better tactical player normally has the steering wheel. The better technical player is normally in the back seat. And that's what we see here.
And we saw it in the Wang Chen match. Like, Wang Chen adjusted
She had
to
better
Jennifer's
tactical command.
but she was able to make adjustments to Jennifer's game. We're seeing Adar so commanding.
It's lopsided.
Yeah. Ooh, nice block from Nick.
I think it's almost better that Adar is actually tired because it is heightening his tactical awareness.
That's what I
Right.
said before. It's mind over body right now. For
That's
him.
it's an interesting point. It reminds me of one match at the US Open where Caden Xu, one of the Chinese players, actually had quite a serious knee injury and was only playing on one leg and managed to beat Kanak and another 2700 player. And just you could see this just heightened sense of having a game plan. And
I thought that was a really nice tactical move from Nick. Adar, he wasn't going to overhit it, and then Adar came back and got him to overhit the second ball.
Nicholas should come back and tell his coach, play me a bunch of high balls short when I'm deep off the table.
So Nick
he
calls-
hasn't really taken advantage of any of those. And what you're seeing now is a mental collapse. Because
So-
he's literally realizes he's in the back seat and he has to find a way to say, how do I get control back over this match?
And I'll go back to this again, guys. Neither of the last two players that Adar have played have been able to make an adjustment, which is very surprising to me at this level of play. Now,
Well-
granted, Nick is 16 years old.
Right.
Let's put this in perspective. He's 16 years old. He's had some great results. He's training very hard. But Adar is playing a very mature game right now.
And I've said it before, he also has a very diverse game. And when somebody has a lot of tools and a lot of shots and tactics they can use in different scenarios, it's hard to try and latch on to a tactic that works consistently. You know, and Adar's out there and he is adapting to different things. You know, he's not trying to overhit the ball, but if he gets given a chance, he'll put it on the table.
I go back to this, like every once in a while he'll pull out a forehand to forehand loop and you'll just say, my gosh, where did that
Doing it
come
at the
from?
right time. And this is a classic case of you seeing somebody playing good versus somebody that's playing right. Adar is playing right.
That's a great point, Brian.
Nicholas is playing good. He's not getting a chance to play right.
So now Nicholas is pushing that ball back and Adar says, fine, I'll adjust my game.
If you call a timeout, you're questioning what you're doing. I'm going to go after you right now. And right when you think I'm going to do it, I'm going to back off.
Brian, we're going to get back to the timeout in a second. It's very interesting to me because we saw Nicholas call timeout when he's losing. Compare that to some other players that we see now more often calling timeout when you're winning. And I see it, for me at World Championships, I see it a lot from Asian countries where the Japanese and Chinese are calling timeout when they're in a lead. Just pushed him wide. And so Adar Alguetti here with this 6-1 lead, up 3 games to nothing. I feel like we're talking about a lot here, guys. Sorry, we're not supposed to talk over points. So
Okay.
hopefully David doesn't get too frustrated with us. Adar's got to be careful right here. Just as an
It's a
observation.
critical moment in the match now where Nicholas just gives it up or he jumps back in the game.
That's right. Adar's got to be very careful here.
Yeah, we talked
if you
about
look
it in
at
the
his
last
body
match.
language now. Look at his body language. He's ready to give the hotel key back and check out.
We talked about in the last match about how a player goes about closing the door, and it's really important that he just kind of sticks to his game plan here.
The last 2 forehands you saw him get, it almost feels like he's getting a little tired. At least I'm getting tired for him. Well, maybe not.
He's seen
there
that
it is.
step around so many times that he know I can afford to gamble and pivot and make a counter loop and not get caught off guard. And Nicholas is saying, when can I get one emotionally so I can get back in the game? It's the first time you saw him overplay, and you can see he almost said, why did I even do that?
It's funny, Brian, you should say that it's the first time I can remember him overplaying a point in the last number of games, overplaying a shot. And what ended up happening, at least from my perspective, was he caught the ball early, which is why it went into the net.
Great service placement.
So let's just put this in perspective and let's hit a match reset. Adar Alguetti up 3-0 here in the men's finals. He is 2 points away from winning day one, qualifying for the men's team and representing the United States at World Championships in Germany. That hit an edge, and it is match point, fellas.
This is a situation where you guys probably going to appreciate this analogy, but you put the zombie in the coffin and you slowly nail it down.
That's it. That is it. Adar Alguetti has won day one of the men's singles in absolutely, I think it'd be fair to say, stunning fashion, Matt.
I really feel like he deserved it. I mean, over the course of the day, we've seen him play incredibly well, and we've also seen him kind of meet challenges along the way. You know, of being 3-1 up against Kanak and being pushed to 7, and of being 3-0 down against someone else. Every kind of twist and turn that his day has taken, he's managed to figure out how to overcome it, and it's a sign of such a mature player. And I really think he deserved to come out of today on top.
I mean, that's a gut check right there, and that was well beyond 17 years of age from what I saw today. Well beyond 17. I mean, just
looks like he's going to stand for this.
Yeah, and so we're going to go over to Brian. We'll be back in 20 minutes with the women's singles finals. Matt, what a great day so far. We're looking forward to what should be an amazing women's singles finals with Wang Chen and Lily.
With day one's winner, the first member of the 2017 U.S. team, Adar Alguetti. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
From the last time we talked, you were tired.
I was very tired.
And now you just won. How do you feel?
I feel amazing. I'm dead, but I feel amazing.
Okay, now tactically, it seems like Nicolas plays similar to Victor. Did that make this match easy for you?
It made it easy because they play the same. They practice together. They play almost the same, and it was very easy once I knew once I played Victor. It was very easy to play Nick.
Right. Now, it seemed like even though he wanted to make big exchanges with you, you made more exchanges that were counterattacks when he wasn't ready, or you waited a little bit to place your loops better. Was that your focus?
Yeah, my focus was mostly placement, first attack placement, and the short game was very important because I knew that I had to focus on my short pushes in order to not let him attack, because his attack is very strong.
Okay. So this was a big day for you, where you basically had 4 big wins. Now, what's your focus now with your brothers?
I gotta make sure my brothers win the next 2 days, and just like I did, I gotta make it easy for them by coaching them.
So now you're coach and practice partner now?
Yeah.
Cool. So big brother won day one?
Yeah.
Dinner's gonna be fun tonight.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
One take pace out.